all distinguished leaders and all of our guests, good morning. So, on behalf of APA Asia Pet Institute, I would like to introduce to you for this report is like a present status and also developmental trend of pet market in China. And also before I start my sharing, first of all, I would like to ask just like everyone a question. Who has a pet? So please raise your hand. Who is owner, just like of a pet? I can see. Okay, thank you very much. Actually, that I can see, like for this like percentage of owner a pet in here is much higher than this percentage in China market. Because in China it's around like a 17%, but I can see here it's almost 80%. So I do believe that you have a lot of love, to the animals and also to the pets. Because ourselves, I do think that we should have this kind of love, and also for this pet market, it's also like required to have this like very deep like communications with animals, with pet as well. So I do believe that all of your pet will just like will feel like happiness. So that for China market of the pet, actually like many of you have asked me like how big is the market, and I have been like thinking about this question for a long time, and because that in China the scale is actually uncentralized, especially for this offline market, so that it is not easy to track all of the data. So that for our like studies and understandings regarding to the market is like basically based on this online market, because online market it is kind of like easier to like track down for the data, and also those are like real data. So that I'm just gonna share you like regarding to this like 2019 of this like a pet market online, so that we can see for this online retail scale of like pet products, it is around the 42 to 46 billion, and online actually it takes around the 45 to like 50% of total pet retail. So that we could forecast actually for this overall like market, it is so about like 84 to like 100 billion. So that we could see for this like a product per se, it takes around 65% to like 75% of this whole market. So that we could actually like forecast for this overall market size of pet industry, it is around like 120 to 150 billion. And we also forecast that in China for the pet industry, for the increasing trend, it is around like 15% to 20% increasing like every year. And also this is based on this like a GDP like increasement in last year and also the year before. And we could see this is around like 16%, and also we could see for this like per capita it is around like 9%, and also we have like a 12.9% of increasing for this market trend as well. So that if we like put together all of the numbers, we could forecast that with increasing for this like retail price and also consumable goods, for the income and also for the ratio of income and also for the cost, that we come down for the number of for the 15% or 20% improvement every year. And also for the pet industry per se, that we have empowered around the 5% to like 10% based on this booming of this market. So I do believe that in this for the following 5 years, we will have obvious improvement regarding to this industry, and we could see that in 5 years, actually, this number will increase significantly. And in China, actually, this pet raising, in 2010, it is around 5 to 8%, but you can see that, and which is circled here, in last year, has reached around 17%. But for these developed countries, as you can see, in the US, it is around 67%. Australia is around 62%. But consider about space and also for this cultural aspect in China. For the situation is more similar with Japan and also and with Korea, and which is around 26%, which means we still have some room to be increased in here. And for the proportion of pet expenditures in household consumption between China and also the US, as you can see, if we compare with 2010 and also 2019, we have also a quite small number, which is 0.17% in 2010. And for last year, it has increased a little bit. It's 0.29%. If compared with the US, they are 0.52%, almost double of our figures. So we do have a lot of room that we could increase in here. And if we have a deeper look for this market, where is the trend of the market, where is the future, and also where is the space that we could improve. Even though that we have very fast development in this industry, but if compared with other industries, it seems like we do have the top or for these limitations. If compared with Japan and also Korea, you can see if compared with this penetration rate of pet raising families, averagely it is around 1.5 pets per household. But actually the number could be lower or higher, or depending on the space and other conditions. And if compare with this a single pet consumption, which is 3,300 yuan, that we could forecast that in China actually for the market size, it is so 600 to 700 billion. And if compared with soft drinks for last year for the market size, it is around 1 trillion. And for the snacks, it's around 2 trillion. And for the other maternal and also infant industry, it is around 3 trillion. And for the last market, actually, we forecast in 2024, it could reach 6 trillion, etc., which means it could be a tenfold of our market space. So actually, this is also a important message to those practitioners who are thinking about entering the pet market or a pet industry, because you have to think about how can you gain in this market share or a market space. And if detailedly we can see for the food sectors, it has just around 55% of market share, and for this CAGR is around 30%, highest one. And for the pet service, it is around 25%. For the CAGR is around 18%. And for those consumables, and it is around 20%. It's around 14%. But actually, inside of for this category, it is quite like differential. Just for example, for this like cat litters or like toys, shower gels, etc. Each of these very different products has its own kind of features. It is also works the same for the food. And if we could see for the cat owner, if compared with like dog owners, they have like a different like preferences regarding to like choosing the food or like choosing the snacks. So as you can see, this is like a sales of this like different types of enterprises in like Tmall or like Taobao. And also as you can see in here, so that in China, actually, this online consumption of for this like pet retail are developed, and we could see in Japan and also in the US for the online shopping for this like pet retail products. It's less than 15%, but in China, it's more than 50%. And because of this online shopping channels has squeezed food offline market share. So as you can see, food proportion is increasing significantly. And however, for the recent years, actually, for the increasing rate is like slower, and for like the growth of pet stores and those online channels in China, it is also like decreasing a little bit. So for the offline market share has been like squeezed out by those online channels. And also for next page, I would like to share with you regarding to this like pet shops and for this second line and also for this like a first tier and also for this new tier cities is having for around like 64% in China.
我们的方法论呢是说，按照不同县级的城市做抽样调查，统计宠物门店的密度，根据这个城市常住人口推算出全国宠物门店的这个数量。这个统计方法的话呢，我们通过不同县级城市的 GDP 在全国 GDP 的占比。 人口的占比还有宠物店的占比呢，进行一个验证。这个数据呢，我们发现呢还是比较合理的。具体的分析啊，你们可以看到我们。
And you can take a look at the data and to get to know what is there. But at the same time, it is clearly say that in China, especially in the Tier 1 cities, the density is the highest one. And among every 10,000 people, we have 1.95 pet stores. And then we have the new Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4 cities. And with the tiers being cascaded, and the density of the pet stores was on the downtrend. So according to our calculation, and currently the number of the pet shops in China is around 100,000. So we leverage the dog in China, jointly speaking, the pet ownership is around 100 million. Then, so for one pet store, it can help to cover 1,000 cats and dogs. This is the distribution map. Then you can see that in August we launched the blue paper, and we also have the specifics in talking about the investable market in the new Tier 1 cities. And we also specifically provide the data in talking about what are those cities that are boosting the highest potential for further investment of opening new pet shops. Now please allow me to walk you through the basic information of the pet shops here in China. Around 60% of those pet shops are operated within 3 years. So, which being called, they are the new pet shops. Or we have some of the pet shops, they are discontinued with a very short period of time, and then we have new pet shops to replace the old ones. So you can see that currently, according to our statistics, around 60% of those pet stores are being operated within 3 years, including the standalone shops, the chain stores, and the franchised shops. Well, in our sampling statistics, according to the size of the shop, and generally speaking, around 45% of the pet stores are having an area of 150 to around 100 to 150 square meters, and they are specifically working in the mid-end or the mid-upper end, or sometimes the premier end. Just now, I mentioned a pet store covers 50 to 100 square meters, and then we made a brief calculation. We find out the human productivity efficiency is around 400 to 500 RMB per capita per day. And its efficacy is around 20 to 30%, and the integrated efficacy is 22.7%. So compared with other industries, we find out the pet store efficiency and the operational efficiency is much lower than other retail business. Well, if we take a look at the pet store in the longer run, they're already being shifted from the community stores and the store shops in the shopping mall into the pet coffee and pet vocational themed park, the pet hotel, and the indoor pet park, which can provide the pet owners diversified services and experience. But for pet stores, they are also in face of many challenges. And first of all, the online channel redirected the traffic, while at the same time, because for pet stores, they have to take care of the retail and the service at the same time. So the pet owner need to have a very high operational capacity, while for some of the standalone community store pets, and the threshold is pretty low, there are going to be a lot of new entrants to get into this market. Where at the same time, we're also short of the professionals, and the turnover rate of this industry is also pretty high. So as we are operating the pet stores, it's need to take care of the fixed assets, the rental fees, and the human capital, while at the same time, it also have a feature of a non-standardized service and product. So the operational model is very hard to be copied from one store to another. This is a great challenge for the whole industry. Now it's time for us to envision and to discuss what is going to happen in the next few years. I think for any of the pet store, we have to improve our professionalism and our standardization. The professionalism means the professional skills. We need to pass on the professional knowledge to the pet owner. You need to be yourself a professional pet keeper and then pass on the know-how to your customer. And the professionalism also means standardization, including the standardized service, standardized procedure, and the standardized configurations of the indoor facilities. Standardization means standardization for the chain stores. Even if it is a standalone store in the community, it also needs to be standardized. Imagine if we have a client who approached us in March. We have one service goal in providing the service to this customer. In September, if I was served by another service staff with a different standard service, I won't feel reassured. So even if it is a standalone community store, we need to provide a standardized service. In this way, you can win the trust from your customer. So you can see for pet store, what we're selling is the trust. We need to make sure that the customer, the pet, or part of their family relatives could be entrusted for us to provide the service. So we have to spare all of our efforts and with emotional investment to win the trust from the pet owner. So we need to provide the accompanying, and we need to accompany the customer at every moment when they need, and also provide them interesting experience. Because now we have more and more pet keepers that are born of the 1990s. You have to provide experience with interests. More importantly, we need to provide warm experience. For the offline pet store, we are so different from the online sales. We provide face-to-face interaction to the customer. Our service spells the human scale, warm and temperature. Well, for some of the pet stores, they are also organizing their own community. But operating the communities doesn't mean you just share some knowledge links in the chat groups and share some of the video clips. You have to truly empower your community to vitalize it. Make every pet keeper just like the family member so that they're happy to share their best practice, the photos and videos of their pets in that community to make that community a big family. In this way, the pet keeper would provide you the trust to the maximum extent. So what we are doing is to win the trust from the client, the ultimate trust from the client. I would like to have a cross-sectional philosophy to share with you. Well, I think we need to work towards OMO. OMO means online merge offline. And even if we are operating the offline pet store, but we have to make sure that the offline and online part need to be merged together by leveraging the community. And by having the community, we can accompany our customer at every moment they need to make the experience more interesting with human scale support and care. With that, we can win the trust from the customer to the maximum extent. Yesterday, I was talking to Joyce from Guangzhou, and she said now they provide the pet or cat working door-to-door service. And to some extent, the pet owner need to give you the key of their doors and also pass the dogs to you to allow you to work their pets. And this is a great trust. If you can provide a door-to-door service to the customer, this shows how great they trust you. Then look at the future trend of the pet store. I think if we really want to do a good pet store, we have to make it with aesthetic value, very good decoration, and high-quality service and experience. For some of the pet store, they also need to be individualized. For example, we can provide the third-party space or some extra space in your pet store. But altogether, no matter it is a standalone store or the regional branded store, the operational model would be highly diversified. What we hope is that we will be able to present a highly diversified standalone community store along with the regional chain stores. And at the same time, we also hope that with the capital investment, after many years, maybe after 5 years, we will be able to have the unicorn company in the pet shop industry, just like the child king in the mother and baby care industry. So due to the time limit, and that's the end of my presentation, this is a QR code, and you can scan the QR code and then to share the slides to all of you. So thank you very much. Thanks for listening. Thank you.